And so, as I mentioned, after a free write, it's okay to go back through. And you might do that right now. Take a look at what you've written and see if anything feels kind of compelling. Maybe not. Maybe this one's just something to try. But it is a good way to then isolate those parts and build them into a more formal script. Now, the third method I'm going to tell you about is plot-driven. And this is kind of an old movie, but I would call this movie Gravity a plot-driven film. So even though the filmmakers kind of insert this whole story of motherhood for Sandra Bullock's character, most of what we're interested in for a film like this is a human being going to be able to survive a space station disaster. And another way of thinking about it is kind of like a ride. You know, it's all about the twists and turns and what actually happens. As opposed to other films, like Marriage Story, for example, comes to mind, where really what we're interested in is the development of that character. So this is kind of opposite of the character-driven one. The best way to explain this is with the but and therefore exercise as designed by the creators of South Park, surprisingly.
Don't move.
Please welcome the Emmy Award-winning and Tony creators of South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker. You think I'm kidding, right?
Our whole South Park writers' room, one whole wall is one of these. And we've got it split up into 3 acts.
We have different colored markers just like here too. Look at
Yeah.
We have that.
And I walk around with the markers like this, and we'll go, okay, we do a show about this.
This is our writer's room.
Okay, well somewhere, this would be a funny scene if we had this. Each individual scene has to work as a kind of funny sketch. You don't want one scene that's just like, well, what was the point of that scene? We found out this really simple rule that maybe you guys have all heard before, but it took us a long time to learn it. But we can take these beats, which are basically the beats of your outline, and if the words and then belong between those beats, you're f***ed, basically. You got something pretty boring. What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word therefore or but, right? So what I'm saying is that you come up with an idea and it's like, okay, this happens, right? And then this happens. No. It should be this happens and therefore this happens. But this happens, therefore this happens. And that, as soon as we are able to, and literally sometimes we'll write it out to make sure we're doing it. We'll have our beats and we'll say, okay, this happened, but then this happens, and that affects this, and that does to that, and that's why you get a show that feels like, okay, this to that, to this to that, but this, here's the complication, to that. And there's so many scripts we read from new writers and things that we see.
Yeah, I see movies.
You
see movies that you're just watching. It's like this happened, and then this happens, and then this happens. That's when you're in a movie, just going, "What the f am I watching this movie for?" Just like this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. That's not a movie, That's not a story. Like Trey said, it's those two, but because therefore that gives you the causation between each beat, and that makes that's a story.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a synthesis of how this works. This is an optional film, Scavengers, by Joe Bennett and Charles Hittner, which I think would be interesting for you to watch if you are looking for more info on this. It kind of categorically fits into this, where every single step of the way is connected to the beats which came before it. But we are actually going to be practicing this ourselves. So you can do this by gridding this out, but actually I'm going to ask you to do it just straight in Canvas. Go ahead and write down a story using one of your characters. Again, it can be the same one from the free write or not. And try and write about 5 beats of something that happens and only connect it with either a but or a therefore. Okay? So this will probably leave you in some inventive places. Again, you're not reinventing the wheel in terms of storytelling, and this is nothing you will have to hold on to forever. But just practice connecting parts of a story, and you don't have to actually know where the story's going this time, using either but or therefore. Remember, no and then.